and we're gonna see if we got light. Yes, we do. And look who her helper is.
Sleepy Sleeperton, always.
Murph. Hey, bud. That's good and sturdy. I can almost hang off of it. I don't think so. I'm about 225.
Well, we got power. Can't wait to show you how we did it. Or really, how Rick did it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Life in the North 40. I'm Rick.
And I'm Brittany, and welcome to part 5 of turning a shed kit into an off-grid bathroom. This bathroom is accompanying our off-grid cabin.
I'm excited to have you join us for some of the most custom touches that we've accomplished to date on this project.
I'm coming down to grab a couple tools from the cabin and the off-grid bathroom that we're doing from a garden shed. And I haven't been down here in a while. I'm excited to see the work. Oh my gosh!
So we've got the electrical underway. I've got 14 gauge, 14-2, two lines of 14 gauge wire. A 14 gauge is a low voltage wire, and I am planning on running these fixtures in here, all gonna be 12 volt. So this is landscaping wire. This is a more cost-effective way to go than going to the normal wiring spools on the wiring or electrical aisle and buying it there. It's more expensive. I'll have a fan that's gonna be located up here, cut into that gable. I already have the fan on hand. I gotta cut that with my jigsaw. That's gonna be a 12 volt exhaust fan, RV style. We're gonna have lines that continues down and it comes down into this area here. Here's the edge where the shower surround is gonna be. So right here, I'll have a sconce mounted up here. I'm also gonna have a switch down here on this side of the shower because the door's gonna open this way. Over here will be a switch that's gonna be able to activate the fans. The exhaust fan will be in this area right here, so that'll be for the fan. Then I need to run a line from the switch for the fan that's going to be mounted right in this area here, up through here as well. So we've got the fixture light and the switch wiring. We're going to need to drop one more line down and through here, and we're going to run up center mass of the ceiling here. We're going to do one more run, and because I have another 12 volt overhead double bulb little extension arm light. These are all LED, by the way. They burn very little energy. It's going to mount up here. It's pretty snug, those other two lines, but it got through there. All right, so we got all our lines run. Far sconce right behind you by where the porta potty and the end of that long counter is gonna go. We got a line going to my exhaust 12 volt exhaust fan, a line going to the sconce on the far side of the shower over there, and then a line going to the overhead light that we just ran. And then of course we got these marked up here. We've got the fan switch terminus and the fan in lines. And of course down here we have the sconce that'll be co-located right in here, and then of course the switch to the fan down here. I got to drill through the side plastic. There's two plastic lug holes that are designed for custom, if you want to put a shelf in like this, you got to drill through those, and I'm going to come from the outside in with some screws. So these are nice coated screws, exterior screws, they're not going to rust. I have got my positive and negative lines. They're going to be coming off of the solar panel. I got these marked on the ends because I'm going to mount this to the roof. I found the best spot for my aperture for the sun. I downloaded an app that shows me the movement of the sun at my location, current time of year, summertime, and winter time. I have figured out the best place to mount this. It's going to be on the plexiglass side, the portion of metal roof running lengthwise, and it's going to be moved, justified towards the back of the cabin. That's the area that gets the most sun out of the entire footprint of the roof. So we've got our two lines. These are going to need to run to the control box from the solar panel location. Got an inline fuse here on the positive side coming off the solar panel. That came with this. Right now, my goal is just get this thing mounted on the roof, and then we can run the wires, dress them up under the eaves, and these lines will go into the solar controller itself. So we will not put those into the solar controller until everything is put together first. It said not to load these into the solar controller until battery hookups are installed. So got it mounted good. We got roofing sheet metal screws with a rubber gasket, so this should not leak through the roof. Down here, I needed to try to get into this as close to the top ridge as possible. Those brackets didn't fall right on the ridges, so I angled them into the ridges. That is secure. So now let's just dress up the wires and we'll get those run to the control box. So I want to tuck these wires under these eaves if possible. And I've got those wires, the excess running right down, and I'm gonna tack those. I will tack those to the wall here. So I've determined I want to come right in here from the outside with my lines for my solar panel in to my solar controller. So I'm going to probably put the solar controller down here. I can run those lines up and above this hinge bracket and back behind. Nice and clean. All right, well, it's time to install our 12-volt fan, this exhaust fan, the RV style one that I bought on Amazon. This is what it looks like. It does have a grill for exterior with a mesh screen on the inside to keep bugs out. I've already got my measurements here we did the dimensions of this box here all the way around because of this flange right here will sit on the outside siding. Don't get that. Me sucking styrofoam down my throat. A styrofoam ball. Now that I cut this out, I can use these inside corners as a template for a bigger hole, a bigger drill bit. I don't want to pass those corners though. I just need access for my jigsaw. So I got a 29/64 bit. I didn't even know what size. I just went through my bits till I found one that was bigger than lined up my jigsaw blade. This is about right, but this is a little bigger than what we need. I don't want to over drill. Okay, it's gonna be tough cutting in here. Definitely I'm gonna do this from the outside. That's what needs to be done. So there's our box. It looks crooked because this siding must be canted a bit because those are level. Yeah, see those lines are level, but the lines are deceiving. Here's our hole, our pass through. I hope it's right. I hate cutting through the side of a building like this, but hopefully I don't have to put a lot of lipstick on the pig. We'll see. See how we're looking. All right. I've got opportunity to drive screws all the way around. here. So that's seated nice. We've got the flange with an overlap for all our screw holes. So let's go look on the inside. I thought maybe my corner holes were a little big, and they are bigger than the periphery, but the flanges from the outside are covering all of those. And we're gonna go ahead and get some caulk on the outside of this, screw it in, then we'll come in and we'll caulk these inside areas, and then we'll get that piece of insulation back over this. All right, so the faceplate seats right in there. I did want to get some type of an exhaust set up in here. Plus, we do have 6 windows. We got 2 windows, one in the front, one in the back. They're a little larger, and we have the bank of 4 windows under the plexiglass wall on the view side. So this is doing our due diligence. I think this is gonna work well. Oh yeah, that is a snug fit right there. All right, so we're getting the drain in so we can get this thing dry fitted for our hole locations that we have to drill through the flange to the studs. So I'm just getting it in there to make sure we have fitment. Now I have to have an 1/8 of an inch standoff from all the studs here. Cut this shim to where that edge right there is basically an 1/8 of an inch. This way now. So I can go ahead and make my 3/16 drill holes in my studs. All right, now that we got this all confirmed and we've got our shims in there, keep it about an 1/8 of an inch off the studs. We are square back into the corner and plumb. I did do a dry fit of our drain. It's not fully installed. The next step is we got to mark the footprint because we need to be inside this footprint for the adhesive. So that is what we're going to do now. All the way around here. While it's in position and it's where it needs to be, I'm going to drill our 3/16 holes in all of our stud locations. I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and remove this now, and we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and get the adhesive down and spread, and then we'll get this in position, get the drain tightened up, and then get it screwed in, and then this is ready to go. All right, that didn't go as far as I wanted it to. I am going to spread it with a trowel, see if I can get some more coverage. Man, that's 1 tube already. So I got 3 tubes of this. This is good stuff, construction adhesive. I think I'm gonna have to get a couple more tubes. This trowel's working pretty good, getting a better coverage. This is what was recommended in the instructions. Well, let's get that baby on. Moment of truth. Let's see, we can make sure we got it seated that way and that way before this sets up. This deal here is what seats over the 2-inch drain pipe that has a 1/2 inch exposure above the floor. It has a beveled edge, and that needs to go up, and here's our 2-inch drain pipe. So you go all around the outside of that, and you seat this all the way down till flush in the bottom of the drain housing, where the top of this gasket is flush with the top of the drain pipe. We screw in this nut. There's slots on top for the tightening bar, and then this will screw in and snug up to that rubber gasket, sealing a good tight seal around that 2-inch drain pipe. I want to make sure we don't drop this down the hole. I didn't have a screwdriver handy, but I did have these sitting there, so let's see if I can get this in here and turn that. Oh, we just got to be able to turn it and tighten this snug. And there we go. That is now mission complete. Now we're going to screw in our side flanges. To these inside two first. Whoa. All right, so I really snugged those screws up because I want to make sure this thing is pulled in and sucked in to the corners both ways on the 90. I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for a few, then I'm going to back those screws back off so I have about 1/8 of an inch behind the flange to the stud again. I'll tell you what, putting those two pieces together by myself was harder than heck. I couldn't even get that one bottom hole lined up. Finally did. So I made a mess with my sealant. On the back side though, we still have to put adhesive on the back stud wall. I'm gonna go ahead and use it now as my template to make my upper pencil lines to where I'm gonna go ahead and do my adhesive bead up too. All right, we got a good pencil line now all the way along the top of our flanges and all the way down. This particular acrylic sealant or silicone goes on white and dries clear. I think I mentioned this before. I've been dreading this just because of it's pretty precise and stuff and you don't want to mess it up, but the floor pan is in, got the construction adhesive in, the drain fit perfectly, nice and snug, seated. We got a bead of clear silicone around the leading edge of the floor pan. I've got the wall kit assembled at the seam here with a bead of sealant between. There'll be a subsequent bead of sealant from this side in the edges as well once it's actually installed. So things are coming together. Kind of tight in here to film. I've got this thing wiped off. Now I got to get it on here without making a huge mess, smearing my sealant all over the place like I did last time when I put these two together. Okay. All right. Sealed to the wall. So I've got it square, level, and plumb. Now I'm going to get some screws in this and then I'm going to get some braces against this and let it cure overnight. Some of you may be wondering, hey, why are you using this corner shower kit? There's cheaper options out there. And I agree. I was just going to do corrugated metal and I was going to just kind of, do my own drop pipe, have my own shut-off valve, attach a shower head. But the deal is I didn't want to frame a wall out. I do not have a framed ceiling or roof, interior roof edge in here. I just have the supports for the rafters. And I didn't want to frame a wall. Plus, this is an 8x8, very small in here, and you have to do space-saving measures. That's why I went with the corner shower kit. I did get it on sale with the surround and everything. It was a really good buy, I thought. It probably was a little more expensive to do this, but it's gonna be problem-free, a really usable shower that people I think are gonna really appreciate. And I think it's gonna be a nice touch in here. It's already perfect for the space in here. So that's the answer to why the corner shower kit. All right, we got our bracing in. We're gonna let that set up and cure. And then we're gonna get this surround knocked out. I also got these, finally got my insulation elbow covers and a couple T's for my valves in here. I insulated everything, but then my turns were all exposed, the brass, right? That's gonna get cold the quickest, right? So we'll get those on real quick too. So I'm getting this piece together with the proper fittings now. I've got these elbow pieces and I've got a couple T's that are coming in around my valves. I got access to my drain portion of this ball valve here. I could still actuate it. I'm gonna come back with some plumbing tape and I'll tape all the seams and snug these up where they all meet, make sure they're coming and meeting their edges. we're ready to drop the template in here and get these side brackets marked. This is one of the things you got to do perfect. Otherwise that surround will not mate up appropriately. So I gotta make sure I take my time and pay attention, which is hard for me. Okay, there's that. That's gonna be there. All right, we got a 250 amp A&L inline fuse here. That's running to our master shutoff, and this is going to need to be connected into the battery as well. Anymore. The heater has its own fuses here as well, but this does call for an inline 30 amp fuse. So we're going to do that, but today I just want to get it mounted, and I'm going to have it down here where we can access the controls for the heater off, the fan, and we can set the fan speed low or high here. So it should be a good spot now for that. We'll see here. Okay, there we go. Got our 20 amp fused line out to the pump. Got our 30 amp fuse line out to for the heater. Here is our negatives for that. And we're gonna get all those screwed in. Looks like we're gonna be able to connect everything with our eyelets. Then we're gonna go back to our power line, power system, then into our solar. Here's inverter, pump, heater. I'm ready to wire down below now, all of those items. All right, this is all cleaned up. Now we need, while we're here, I want to get a ground. My ground wire, 4 AWG, it's all solid copper. I'm gonna have it come up and go out and connect it to a grounding rod. So we've got our grounding wire. And of course I didn't need this much. I'm not going that far. However, this is good to have on hand. So we're gonna end up running that. And that is 4 AWG. It's gonna be our connector on the outside. Let's just get that secured. So I know you're supposed to use a solid piece of copper is optimal. This is hollow copper, but it's extra that I had in my shop, just sitting around scrap. I was going to use a piece of steel rebar. This is better than steel rebar. This is what I'm going to connect my ground to. All right, the ground is done running out. We got that on the grounding rod. Okay. So we've got you guys here and here. All right, here's our solar controller. It's working, connected, and working great. I got all my excess coiled up out of the way over here. In case I need to move my solar panel, I can pull this, and expand the location. This is a Bluetooth sensor that I can log into and see the charge rate, battery life, etc. Coming this way, these are the lines coming in from the solar panel. Down here we have positive into the solar controller, negative into the solar controller running all the way to the battery. This is the master power shutoff for this power system over here. This stuff's all directly wired into the solar controller direct from the battery. This system here is to run fused items that are going inside the cabin. So here's our master power shutoff. I'm going to work my way back from the battery to it. So we've got our battery here. We have some things that are hardwired directly to the battery that are not part of this electrical system. I already mentioned the solar controller. What else? We have the pump with an inline 20 amp fuse. We also have the heater with a 30 amp inline fuse that are down below. I'll show in a minute. And then we have the inverter that I haven't connected and run inside yet that will go right in through a pass-through through the wall. So the inverter is going to take the 12 volt system and convert it to 110. Normal plug style appliances can run off. Like somebody using the bathroom has a shaver or a hair dryer, they'll be able to plug into that inverter and it will be able to run like a normal outlet. So that inverter will be run inside. So what else do we have? We have the negative running down to the solar controller. We have the positive running through a 250 amp inline fuse going to the master power shutoff. Then the positive goes into what's called a bus bar. This has more options for expansion in the future if I want to connect other items. So this is my positive line to a circuit breaker, which is 50 amp based off of the loads I'm doing. And then the positive runs into a fuse box. This fuse box has all the appliances on the inside that I'm currently connecting to. I've got a sconce over by the sink. We've got our exhaust fan, we've got a sconce by the toilet, and a overhead light, all those LED low voltage. I've got 10 amp fuses for all of those currently. Then we have our negative bus bar with the grounding wire that comes out to our grounding rod, and our negative attached line here comes into this, as well as the negative from the fuse box. So positive down here, negative up here into the fuse box. Also, this positive that runs into the solar controller, we have a inline 20 amp fuse here as well that came with the solar controller. Also right here we have a thermometer or temperature sensor that runs back to the solar controller to monitor the battery temperature. So let's look at what's down below. I've got the fan on low right now. This I've had for a long time as an ATV heater and I never used it. I mounted it on the underside of the board and it can tilt and move. But this is going to work great in the winter time if and when we use this during the winter. This can keep these pipes warm in here as it's angled down and keep them from freezing. When we're not using the system, we can go ahead and winterize it as I've discussed before. So that's the fan, pretty slick. What we have here is our pump with an inline switch that runs up to the battery with its own 20 amp fuse. And this is switched because when not in use, it's recommended to have it turned off with its own switch. Now, I could have just pulled the fuse out of it when not in use, but I went ahead and put a switch in there. There's open lines on both ends, so it's just pushing air. It's okay to dry run this pump for a short amount of time as per the instructions. So this works, we are good. We obviously have no water yet. So we are set up on the outside except for our inverter lines that we're gonna drill a hole with a hole saw right about here into the cabin wall to run a propane line for the Mr. Buddy heater with a quick disconnect or quick connect, as well as the inverter lines that can be connected to the inverter inside that shelf that's going to be on this back wall. I'm going to go ahead and get some foam in here. That'll keep the critters and the elements from coming into the box. All right, so you've seen inside the control box and all the electrical. These are all connected in now. I'm just going to go ahead and tape these to the wall, tuck them in a little bit. Let's get a little expansion foam in here and seal the rest of this gap. That's going to expand in there and close that hole and make it airtight, hopefully, around those wires through our pass-through cut hole that we did.
Did you get the squirrel? Did you get it?
So on this 14 gauge landscape wire, how I'm going to know which side is the positive, because there's no writing on this. There is a raised ridge on one line. The other one is flush. So for my project, I'm going to make the ridged line the positive. This is the fan in, or to our power center. So I got to find the ridged line. And that's this one here. It's got the ridge on it. So that's going to be our positive. So we want positive going to our switch. Here's our fan switch. All right. Then the line coming out here is going to be to the positive in for the fan, this little guy here. All right, so now we just need to connect our negative here. So those are our hot lines in there, and then our negative. And the reason I want to get these little loose guys kind of snugged up here, because I am going to secure this here with HVAC tape just to kind of make this clean and disappear, because I don't know if I'm going to put wall boards up here yet. I'm going to turn my master power on. That's running the electrical system to which my internal fixtures are wired. Currently the fan is wired. The lights are not yet until I get the wall boards up. But we are on. Let's go inside and see if our fan works. All right, moment of truth. Let's hit the switch. Nice. So we wired that correctly and it's working great. Man, I can feel it pulling air through here too, which is nice. Before I seal these wires up with my wall boards in here, I want to make sure I do a test fire on my connections. Make sure everything's looking good. This is one of the sconces, and these are, like I said, 12 volt LED. These can angle down. So I'll probably have this one up here, right about here at this height. These have a built-in switch right on them. And I have two of these. One will go vicinity here and one over by the toilet. So we have the power system on currently. And I'm gonna go ahead and touch my leads and we're gonna see if we got light. Yes, we do. Here's my other sconce location. Well, the toilet will be kind of right behind me. So we're gonna make sure we're good here. Yep, we're good here. And then lastly, up here for our overhead light, so I think we're here and here, yep. So once I wrap up the electrical and we get the surround finished, we're gonna start wall boards and seal this baby up.
Come here, Murph. Good boy.
Hate carrying glass. I feel like I'm gonna break it. There we go. Now, this all this has to be clean. Lined up. Gonna go from this hole now, come around, and the washer's on there already. Come around the back side and try to screw that in a little bit, get it started. I'm holding it against it. Okay, so there's that. Here's this. She wants the stump gone. And I dug it out a little bit. I'm gonna try to clip that right close to ground level with my chainsaw. Here we have Brittany, God bless her heart, doing her backfilling and getting our stone pavers all squared away. And look who her helper is.
Sleepy Sleeperton, always.
Murph. Hey, bud. There he is, peeking through
It's
the doorway.
nap time.
He's doing his best. What he does well, sleeping. Sealant to the glass edge installed. Brittany, how you doing? How's it coming? How's it coming?
A corner shower is finally in. Brick did a bang up job on it.
That's good and sturdy. I can almost hang off of it. I don't think so. I'm about 225. Let's get the light up here. It's got 5 little solar panels along the top.